make your day richer than it was before. Got some good times knocking upon your front door.
Hello everyone, welcome. There's never more stress than during that little 20-some second video. That thing is, I don't even know how, I don't know. It's a very short video, and I have to press about 75 buttons between that, starting it, and then me being on here. And I swear to you, I have anxiety every single day over that, and I need to figure out how to make that easier, because all I think is it's going to happen, and either I'm not going to be on screen or I'm going to be in the middle of something and not realize that I'm here. But we're here. Happy Monday. We're here with another week of great shows. I want to congratulate last week's #1 show, Phil and Ariel, who had the show Stress Less and Create More, our most watched show of last week. So go check that out, would you? You know, I get to do this every single day of the week and introduce you to amazing people. I get to meet amazing people, and I just kind of cry every day that this is my life. This is the life I wanted since I was 10 years old, and I'm now 40, going to be 41 this year, and I get to do this every day, and it just, look, I'm tearing up now. So we'll just continue. We'll move on. Great podcast episode came out today. I don't know if you know this or not, but outside of this show, I help other podcasts with editing, production, and Gorilla HR has a podcast that started a couple weeks ago, and Becky has a new episode that came out today. It's available wherever you get your podcasts, but it's audio only. So if you go on YouTube, there's no video to watch, really. You still just listen to it because that's how she wanted it. So take a look at this clip from the episode this week that is out right now.
In the interview phase, you know, we like to bring on those, hey, like, this is what we like to do. This is what the culture is like. But if you go on LinkedIn, you'll see a lot of companies of, like, I don't want to say inflated, but just like over fluffy job descriptions, right? And that's been the thing that I've seen that people try to get creative with. I've also seen a push for more like incentives with the total rewards that we haven't seen before. Gym memberships, you know, we've seen childcare incentives and different things that have started to pop up. And I thought that was really good, right? Because, you know, everyone wants to be more fit. You know, everyone, you know, someone needs childcare. So seeing some of those things that are kind of starting to pop up in total rewards has been really, really interesting. And it'll be interesting to see what other companies kind of take on some of those things, because I think it could be something that could make or break people's decisions when it comes to making a job choice.
Gorilla HR, available wherever you get your podcasts. Also at gorilla/hr.com. HR standing for human resources. So if you have a job or you have a job and employ people, it's a really good podcast that you should be listening to. Okay. Also, I don't know if you know, but we filmed this show in South Carolina. There are some horrific wildfires in Myrtle Beach going on over the weekend, and still I'm about 4 hours from Myrtle Beach, but still, so, you know, what do you do during times like this when you feel like you can't do anything? And so if you are in the area, please help your neighbors as much as you can. If anything you can do, we're going to put some resources together for later in the show on how you can help the people there. But my gosh, what is happening in the world? Okay, let's move on to something better, shall we? But we'll keep you updated on that and give you some resources, like I said, on how to help everybody there, because my gosh, it's insanity. But let's start the show. Imagine remembering every single day of your life since childhood, every emotion, every detail. That's the extraordinary reality for my first guest. As a licensed professional counselor with a unique perspective on the human mind, he has dedicated his life to helping others heal from the past and create a brighter future. He's also the author of several books, including the insightful Heal Your Memories, Change Your Life. And I love when people's names like align with like their life. And this is an example of that. Please welcome Frank Healy. Frank.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. You have something that only 100 other people in the world have.
Yes, I have. It's the technical name of it is hyperthymesia, and it's more typically known as superior autobiographical memory. And what that is I remember every day of my life since I was almost 6 years old, which includes the day of the week, the weather where I was, personal events, and if there were any significant news events that day. And I'm 64 now, so that's 58, almost 59 years of daily memories.
When did this, like, how did this come about to even get diagnosed with something like this? Like, when did you start realizing, like, I'm not forgetting anything?
Well, it started, the way it got started at first was I was homesick from school, kindergarten for a week with chicken pox and too sick to really be even up playing with toys. And it happened that my Uncle Billy down the street had just given me a calendar for the year 1966. So what I did was I'd look at the calendar, and on each block with a date in it, I would picture something from what would be on primetime TV that night and play the tune, it's coming on tune in my head. So that by the end of that week, I realized that I had the entire year 1966 memorized. I knew
Oh my
that,
gosh.
and so that year, Thanksgiving would be November 24th and Christmas would fall on a Sunday that year. And from then on, every day, anything that would happen to me, I'd make mental notes about it, about what day of the week what date it was, and it all took off from there.
Oh my gosh. How, in, so my like simplistic brain would think that like you just have all these thoughts flying through your head at all times, but do you really, like, what does it, is it, does it feel, what does it feel like to know that you know all of that? And is every day just like normal days unless you're thinking about something, or how does that work?
Well, it's like one difference between me and all the other people who have been studied at University of California, Irvine, was that most of us will remember significant days like Christmases, wedding day, the day your kids were born, graduations. But to me, every single day is like one of those days, even days
Mm.
when I just go to work, it's routine and not much outstanding happens. I still just remember things that happened on each date. And so it's all significant. And there's good and bad points to that. I mean, at first, most people, when they first hear about this, they think, wow, that's really neat. You remember not only your first kiss and your first date, but all your romantic flings, including good things when you got married. You remember every day of vacations. That's the good side.
Yeah.
And the downside is that I would also remember, all the details of the bad days, like bad days at work or romantic breakups and things. So I first became interested in psychology, figuring since I'm not going to let go of any memories, how can I at least let go of the bad feelings from the negative memories, so that when they pop up into my head, I don't get sad or angry, however I felt when that memory was happening. So now I became a therapist, a licensed professional counselor, which is very similar to a psychologist. Now, I counsel people with depression, anxiety, and a lot of it, post-traumatic stress is a big one
Mm.
because, people who, and help, and my self-help trilogy, Heal Your Memories, is part of that. What I did for each of the three books, of which the first one is Heal Your Memories, Change Your Life, I interviewed 12 to 15 people who had some traumatic thing happen to them, but were now happy and thriving. And and the books also include exercises, mostly in the way of meditations, where you relive both good and bad memories and flood the emotions from the bad memories with positive memories. And like the exercises that I created, many of them are a variation of neurolinguistic programming, which was a popular therapy technique in the 80s and 90s, but I think is still effective. So, so that's how it all came about.
Did you become a counselor in part to help yourself through this, or what was your type of help to come to terms with this and to deal with what was happening?
Well, yes, it was partly to help myself because, memories constantly flood my mind. And so I wanted it to be where to see if there was anything I could do about when the bad memories flood, still feeling the emotions. Because in addition to all the facts and the incidents, I also, the feelings and emotions come back too. So now I've learned to hold on to the feelings that I had during the good memories and let go of the feelings from the bad memories.
Is there something like, is this, what causes this?
Well, they did find that, among other things they did at the university, they gave us CAT scans, and they found that from imaging, they found out that parts of our frontal lobes, which are the thinking centers of the brain, are almost twice as large as the average person's.
Wow.
So there is an anatomical description, and now they're in the process at different universities. They're in the process of doing some gene studies and all. So, so this is a field that's growing, to understand us, and possibly, like my dream would be if they used my genes to help to create a medication for people with Alzheimer's or the various dementias.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I imagine that this can be very wearing on your mental health. I assume some people think that it's like a superpower in a way, and some people, I suppose, it makes you feel so different. How do you manage that and come to an understanding of it?
Well, I think it's, I looked at it as, in order to still feel as a part of the world, is, the fact that I would memorize facts about sports and entertainment, it made me a good conversationalist about things that everybody talks about,
Mm-hmm.
including the weather, so, so that helped. And I looked at it as that, coming, from a Christian faith background, that God gave everybody their talents, and that's one of mine. That my memory. So, and for years I was concerned that there didn't seem to be any openings for me to use my memory for good. Well, of course, you could say indirectly, becoming a counselor was the way I used it. And
Hmm.
many people would have also said to me, "Oh, you're good with numbers. You maybe could have been an accountant or an economist, but it's less about being good with numbers and more about the memories."
Mm.
So it's only been since around 2010 when I was first called to participate in the study after a few phone tests where they threw facts out at me, and that then I thought, oh, so now I'm going to use this for some good, be in research.
Yeah.
So
And
so
you've
I
met
look.
other people with it, right?
Yes, I have met other people with it. Back on Saturday, August 31st, 2013, I had lunch with the actress Marilu Henner, who also has this, and her
Oh,
gang.
really?
Yeah, and then it was in New Hope, Pennsylvania. But we went to this health food restaurant and then watched her in a play at the Bucks County Playhouse up there.
Wow.
And I've also met some of the men who were in the study. I remember Wednesday, July 13th, 2011, when I first met up with another person who has what I have. It's a man who we've still remained friends named Sean Conlon. We met at a casino in Atlantic City. had dinner together, and it was kind of fun being at the other end, asking him dates, and right away I'd know that he was right. So
Oh, wow. That has to feel really good then to meet other people, right? Because it probably feels so isolating, especially since there are so few of you. So to build that community of friends with that commonality has to feel really good.
well, yes, it has. It has felt does feel really good. I mean, I've also exchanged a lot of emails with this Bob Petrella, who is a screenwriter in LA, who has this, and a couple of the other people who have it. So it is it is kind of neat. At one point, we considered starting a website for us.
Yeah, I definitely. I think that's a really good idea. Tell everybody about your new book that came out at the beginning of January.
Okay, it's a short read, but with a lot of information packed into it, called Happy Every Day. It's
Mm,
all about how to be happy, not just like when you're on a vacation or on weekends or having fun, but how to be happy in your everyday life. How to be like, even when you go to work or have a routine day, how to be happy, generally satisfied with your life. And it gets into a lot of being grateful for what you have, and but really making that a feeling and not just thoughts, and
mm,
and a few other things. So I figured people now are probably having some post-holiday blues and getting through. Many people consider January and February dreary months, so that's
mhm.
so this would be a good aid for you to order it, and learn how to be happy no matter what's going on.
Yeah. Why was this an important book for you to write?
Because I always want to do everything I can with what I know to help people, and
Mm,
you know, it's important. Now I realize that nobody is happy 100% of the time, but you can be happy a lot more frequent. Like back on June 28th of this year, unfortunately, my brother died. And
mm,
so it was a tough summer for all of us. But I used a lot of the things I know to get through it. It's like, and for anyone who's listening who is grieving a loved one, you don't have to stay sad and grieving to feel a connection to your lost loved one. You can feel good about all the memory and grateful for all the memories you had with them. And if you believe that
mm,
they're in a good place now, that helps.
yeah.
So there's a lot,
Mm.
there's a lot to it. I'd like to, I mean, I want to help as many people as I can while I'm still around.
What do you love most about your life right now?
Well, I've been happily married for 15 years, and you know, I live at the Jersey Shore, which is where I moved there in '97 and got married in '09. So there's I have a really good life now, good friends,
Good.
and good family on both her side and my side, and it's so many things that I worked for throughout my life are happening now. So I'd like to advise anybody who doesn't have everything they want, you can believe it and work towards it. And for young 20 somethings who maybe are still trying to find your niche, find your way in the world, you know, use your feelings as well as your mind to figure out
Mhm.
how to get there.
Yeah. So smart. What's the best way that people can follow you and support you and connect with you?
Well, I have a website that has just been revamped, and it has some of my books on it you can order. It's Healy's, Healy'sHealing.com. Now I figured, hey, my last name is perfect for a healer.
Yeah, it works out perfectly. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. So
Yeah.
we're, oh, go ahead. Yeah,
No,
so they
go
can
for it.
do that, or and I'm okay with somebody emailing me at my, my my email is a similar name to my website. It's Healy's Heal, all lowercase, HEALYS, HEAL, then the number one at msn.com.
That's an old email address, it sounds like.
Yes, I've had it since November 6, 2000, a Monday, because with all the books and everything I do, I was hesitant to change my my main website because I'd have to change so many things because of it. So,
Yeah, keep it consistent. That's smart. I thank you so much for being here and teaching me about this. I appreciate it.
Sure, my pleasure.
Come back anytime. Congratulations on the new book. Make sure you go get that and go to healyshealing.com to learn more about Frank and get all of his books and support him. We're going to take a break and we're going to be right back after this. Don't go away.
Are you tired of the same old drinks? Let your taste buds travel. Honkaku Spirits delivers authentic Japanese spirits right to your door. From family distilleries in southern Japan, they bring you exquisite small batch shochu, awamori, koji whiskey, and gin. It's more than a drink, it's a journey to Japan in every sip. Discover your new favorite spirit at honkaku.com and enjoy free U.S. shipping on any order. Thanks for sponsoring the show, Honkaku Spirits.
Okay, good. I did something different between the guests and it worked better than what usually happens around here. All right. Do you ever feel like you're caught in the trap of perfectionism, striving for impossible standards and feeling constantly stressed? My next guest understands that struggle intimately because she's a recovering perfectionist herself. Dr. Tara Cousineau, author of the new book, The Perfectionist Dilemma, Learn the Art of Self-Compassion and Become a Happy Achiever, is a clinical psychologist, a meditation teacher, who helps high achievers break free from the perfectionist cycle and find more joy and ease in their lives. She's here to share her wisdom and guide us toward a more self-compassionate path. So please welcome Dr. Tara. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm
How
happy
are
to
you?
be here. Thanks. It's the whole vibe is so happy.
Well, listen, that's why I wanted you here, because you seem like a happy person. You want others to be happy, and that's what it's all about here on this show.
Yes, it is.
Tell everybody about your book.
Yeah. So The Perfectionist Dilemma came out in January. It's really a labor of love. I've been working on this really probably for about 5 years. I work with a lot of college students, graduate students, early career professionals who really get kind of stymied and feeling like they're never enough. Like no matter what they do, it's not enough. They have a really hard time recognizing their achievement and success. It's almost like they're just addicted to the hustle. And so these are the people I've been talking to, and I've been running groups on overcoming perfectionism and using some of the skills from mindfulness and self-compassion and energy psychology. And I find that they work. So I had to put it all in a book.
Is this your first book?
It's my second book.
Your second book. I want to talk a little bit about writing a book for just a minute. It obviously wasn't awful the first time. So we did it. We did it again with this one. Did you always want to write a book at some point in your life, or how did the first one come about?
It's a good question. I think many of us have a story that we want to tell and we're just not sure how to do it. And as a psychologist and kind of just being in my field, I see people write books all the time. I'm like, but I have something to say too. But I think I just had a lot of my own never enough. Like, who do I think I am that I have something important to say? So I had to struggle with that. But I'll tell you, the first book is called The Kindness Cure, How the Science of Compassion Can Heal Your Heart and Your World. And I thought I was going to write a parenting book, but I ended up kind of shifting. It was 2016 and it was a crazy election year. There was a lot of sort of hate speak in the culture. I was raising teenagers at the time. One of my daughters actually got beaten up by another girl. It was like really, there was all these school shootings. The kids were in these sort of shooter drills at school. And I thought, what is happening to the world? But I actually say that all the time. I say that today too.
Not much has changed.
It's just kind of like the stress is always out there one way or another.
Yeah.
There's some calamity, fires, storms, something. So I think it was almost like a divine intervention. I just had a dream one night that said, you need to write a book on kindness. And I woke up the next morning and I said, that's my next book. It's a book on kindness, but what is not obvious about kindness. Like I really was like, okay, is there something else that I could teach about kindness that people might not know? So then I just put on my sort of nerdy science hat and I said, well, what is the science saying about kindness? Like, how does it actually really affect people's lives and well-being? And sure enough, there's brain science, brain imaging studies, just studies on self-compassion and how it actually really augments mental well-being in so many ways. I'm like, okay, can we just package this up somehow? So that was the impulse for my first book. And I think I got out of that sort of never enough or not good enough mindset because I thought it's really actually not about me. I'm just like the channel for the message. So
Mm.
figure out your way to put it together.
I love that. I think when I was thinking about like perfectionism and people who say that they're a perfectionist, I went right to job interviews. And when
Yeah.
people talk about that, and you don't ever say that you're a perfectionist because it means you're never. And we've been talking about that kind of a lot on this show of success and what that means, and setting the bar keeps getting higher for yourself, and we're never like settling into it or celebrating. Can you talk a little bit about maybe like your definition of a perfectionist, and has that changed at all? Like,
Well, I think what's changed is that more people suffer with perfectionism, but that's
mm,
been amplified over the years. And there is some research that shows that over the last 30 years that the rates of perfectionism have gone up. It kind of maps the same time that the smartphone arrived. Surprise, surprise. Although
mm,
there's no causation, there is a correlation that people are just in this sort of compare and despair mindset much more often. And so it's not really our fault. Um, it used to be the favorite flaw to share in a job interview, and I think now people are getting the vibe like, "Oh, maybe it's not so good to share that you're a perfectionist." Like better done than perfect. Do you want a perfectionist on your team? But the research in the workplace does show that people who have perfectionistic, tendencies or rate as perfectionism actually don't get any farther ahead than non-perfectionists. So
mm.
why all the extra effort if it's not really going to move the needle for you? And that just really speaks to learning how to manage your own anxiety around your fears of being rejected in some way or making mistakes.
What would you like? Would you say that being a perfectionist is a bad thing, or do we just have to learn how to kind of live with it?
Well, so my definition of perfectionism is not really so scientific. It's actually more from based on my experience of working with people for 25 years. But perfectionism really is this paradox created by this need for belonging or this fear of rejection, one
Mhm.
side or the other, paired with unrealistic expectations for achievement and approval that really sap your energy or life force. There's a tipping point with perfectionism. It's kind of like the negative effects accrue over time. Like it was really helpful to get, I don't know, to do well on your SATs or to get into college or to get that first job or ask somebody out on a date. Like it got you somewhere. But then when we're sort of staying at that level, like that, we just have to keep performing or keep producing, it's not going to be beneficial anymore. And so we don't really want to get to that tipping point where there's that point of diminishing returns. So how can you hold striving for excellence with kindness and compassion and still, value excellence, but not kill yourself while in the process?
Mm, that's a good one. Yes. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
You're also a meditation teacher. I'm
Mhm.
assuming there's maybe some overlap in this in your life, or how people can use meditation for this.
So meditation or mindfulness practices are really helpful to help you detach from your thoughts and your emotions. And I don't mean like be, dissociated from them, but just learn to see that your thoughts are thoughts, your emotions are emotions. And so meditation allows you to cultivate a skill because it really is a skill to not get hijacked by the intensity of a negative thought or a negative emotion, but just to see it part of the human experience. And that takes practice. And so a lot of people, when they try meditation, they're like, oh, my mind's too busy. I can't do that. I'm not good at that. They
Mhm.
actually start judging themselves in the process when really it is more of like, can you do it a little bit every day? And help also calm your nervous system. Because I think that people, especially those who might identify as perfectionists, are operating at pretty high stress cortisol levels. Like they've adapted to a high level of stress. And so when they do slow down, their body interprets that as something's wrong.
Yeah.
Right. So we get addicted to high
Yeah.
levels of stress. And so it requires a lot of self-compassion and understanding to learn how to go a little bit slower and step out of sort of the head spin and the analysis paralysis that perfectionists tend to fall into.
Well, and you said, like, I think when people who don't know or haven't done meditation for ever or a long time, they think that you have to go to a 3-day silent retreat and you have to sit in the dark for 4 hours, whatever. But I literally do a 5-minute meditation before the show every day, just to because I'm running around doing stuff, and then I'm like, okay, well, I need to get ready to talk to whoever I'm going to talk to. And so I sit here and 5 minutes, and that's all it takes. And you can do that multiple times a day if you need to. But it's not like a huge commitment.
It's not a huge commitment. It's just practice. And I love that you do that before you sit with a person, because another definition for mindfulness could just be presence. Right. You want to give somebody the gift of your attention. And yet we're usually in our to-do list or scrolling on our phones. We're not even giving people or our own lives the gift of being present. And it is these little small doses. The researchers who crunch the numbers on the benefits of meditation have come down to sort of like a sweet spot number, which is about 12 minutes a day. But that doesn't have to be done all at once. So I say do 3x4s, 3 times a day for 4 minutes, or 4 times a day for 3 minutes, to really just settle your mind. And that gives a good message to your nervous system. Oh, Tara, she's actually chilling out for a moment. Good, we need the rest. So we need to do that whenever we can.
And sometimes it takes me 2 of the 4 minutes to even get my mind in the right position, but it's still a great then 2 minutes after that as well. So anytime you can take it in. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. In your book, I'm going to put it up here again, The Perfectionist Dilemma, you talk about the 6-step evolve method. Can you talk about that with us here?
Yeah. So evolve is an acronym. Psychologists love acronyms, by the way. We have too many of them, but this is a good one because we really are evolving. It's not like we're trying to get rid of our perfectionistic tendencies or banish the inner critics from our mind. Really, what we're trying to do is transform and evolve. And so the 6 steps are really kind of a recipe or a practice. And the first one is actually mindfulness. It's embody the present moment. It's actually feeling it in your body and not being in your head. And then the next one is to validate your feelings. One thing that perfectionists do in particular is that they're in control all the time, that they're actually not tuned into how they're feeling. So sometimes I feel like, oh my gosh, we just have to do some remedial training on empathy for ourselves, is to really kind of name our thoughts, our feelings, and our sensations, so that we are more in relationship with ourselves. O stands for open your heart. And this is really that piece of befriending the inner critical, voices, first noticing that they're there and that our mind operates from a negativity bias, which is a thing actually, is that our mind just pays attention to whatever could be, I don't know, shame storm or the next calamity or being prepared, right? We can't help it that our minds are that way. And then L is love your inner critic. So this is the hard step for a lot of people, is to like I don't want to have that, inner judge or inner bully, screaming at me. How can I love that part when I want to get rid of it? But actually, if we could turn towards that part and see it as a younger part of ourselves, that learned how to cope in a certain way that was beneficial at the time, like not making a mistake, being really quiet, or really kind of going for it. We learn these coping skills as a way to kind of get through hard moments in our lives. And so I often will ask people like, okay, name your inner critic, and so people come up with some good ones, Mooch, Judge Judy, okay, name that part of you. And that when you notice it come up in your life, say, oh, Judge Judy, I know why you're here. I'm really worried about this. I really care about doing a good job. Okay, I get it. You're my warning label. Like sometimes I say the inner critics are like heart palpitations. They show up. And it's really just a cue for you to say, oh, right, take a deep breath. This is hard. That part of me is worried that I'm going to screw it up in some way, but I'm actually older now. and I can
Yeah.
manage this in a different way. And then V at the end is make a vow, like commit to yourself that you're going to take, like you take that 5 minutes every day before a show and you commit to it. And when we commit to things and we're consistent about it, we cultivate new habits. And so perfectionists need to actually cultivate some new habits. And the last part could have been the first part, which is the energy of excellence. So one of the things that I learned, this was actually really during the pandemic, is that traditional talk therapy did nothing. People were isolated. They weren't sort of, with other people except for their families that annoyed them. And, they were in analysis paralysis. And I just felt like, well, I'm not helping people right now. So I realized it was really kind of more of a nervous system issue. So I just went out and started learning more about energy healing and energy medicine. And people really just loved the skills, really simple skills. Like, I was thinking what you were saying before, how you had like 100 things to do and all these buttons to push. I'm like, oh, well, now maybe with your 5-minute meditation, you can just add a hand on the forehead and the back of the head, which actually reduces the fear point, and breathe for a few minutes. So I would sit, with students, either online or in my office, and we would just sit here for a few minutes until the arms got tired, but you can lean back. And people would always say, gosh, I feel so much calmer now. I'm like, okay, great. So in a way, as I was writing the end of the book, I was like, oh my gosh, I have the final E in evolve. It's energy. So that's how that happened. You can start in any point in the steps, but that's sort of my system for it.
I love that. Speaking of the book, it's called the Perfectionist Dilemma. I want to know if you had any other names that you were playing with, or how you settled and came upon this title.
Well, perfectionism is kind of a popular topic now, just like mindfulness was 25 years ago, which is actually a good thing, And so there are books on banishing the inner critic and the perfectionist trap, actually by a great author. And then I was like, yeah, but I really want to get the angle in about how it's a paradox for people. Like we want to have good things happen, or we're striving for certain things, and we have high sense of quality or aesthetics. Like that is not a bad thing, but it becomes a bad thing when you get ill, or you get so stressed out or burned out, or you get anxiety or panic or depression. So I really wanted to get in that it's a dilemma, and it's a dilemma that can be healed through self-compassion. That's why the subtitle is Learn the Art of Self-Compassion and Become a Happy Achiever.
So what's one thing, like a tool, an exercise that listeners could start today?
Well, I would say, the first thing is to notice that inner critical narrative. Like just write it down. Like, what do you say to yourself? And then ask yourself, would I actually say this to a person out loud? And most people are like, I've never talked to somebody
Absolutely
that
not.
way.
No.
Yeah. And so to notice that, and instead of being upset by it, because people get upset when they start, this is why actually people don't like mindfulness either, is that they realize how crazy their internal mind is. But it's just to notice it with curiosity, or to notice it like, sometimes I'll just call it, oh, I'm storytelling in my mind, like, oh, that's a good story. I could write a Netflix series with just all the characters in my own head, and to start to name those. And I think when people start to do that, they'll just say, oh yeah, my tiny terror showed up today. I just felt like it was so unfair, and that part of me came forward. And so when we start to speak more in like that part of me, we start to almost unblend or unhook from this idea that we're just, uptight, mean, crazy people. We're not. It's just a part of us. So I'd say befriend the inner critic, notice it, name it, see how it's trying to help you, and then see if you can cultivate a new relationship with that part.
Oof. What do you love most about your life right now?
I'm really happy that my young adult daughters are doing well in this crazy world. I wrote my first book when they were in high school, and now they're launched and, out of college, and they have jobs and they've got good friends. And I thought, okay, thank you, God, that something went right, along the way. I mean, so many different things can happen in the world. And so I just find such pleasure that like they're texting me now, like, Mom, where are you? Like, like it's like a role reversal, that they care and we're connected, and that they've kind of found their little tracks in life. in spite of what I believe is a really challenging world for this generation. So
Yeah.
I'm happy that they're pretty much happy as far as I can tell.
Okay, good. And now I need to text my mom as soon as this is over. That's what
Yes.
I've learned today as well. What's the best way that people can connect with you?
Oh, well, so people can look up the name of the book, The Perfectionist Dilemma, go to my website, TaraCousineau.com. I'm also starting something new that I'm kind of excited about, and I have to get over imposter feelings, which is starting a publication called The Peaceful Perfectionist on Substack, where hopefully I can, it's just like it'll be a practice for me writing more. So
Yeah.
I keep evolving, actually, trying new things. So that's one of them. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I feel like you would be a good person to play. It's not really a game, but I call it Fave Rave. And so will you play this little game with me?
Okay. I'll try my best.
You just need to pick a number between 1 and 10.
Okay. 7.
7. All right. So in here are a bunch of like categories, and you're going to give me your favorite in these categories. Okay. And then everybody in our studio audience is going to win a copy of your book. So that's exciting. We don't have a studio audience, but okay. Ready? 7 of these. Your favorite memory.
Being a little girl at Great Pond, where I grew up in Richfield, Connecticut, and meeting other little cute kids. I just love Great Pond. It brings back warm feelings.
Fun. I love that. Your favorite artist, musician, or band?
Oh, right now, my favorite band is The Lone Bellow out of Brooklyn. I love them. Check it
Okay, I'll
out.
have to look them up. Yes.
Yeah.
Come on the show.
Yeah.
Your favorite emotion?
I think it's gratitude, being appreciative.
Mm-hmm. Good one. Your favorite vegetable?
My favorite vegetable. Oh my gosh. What's my favorite vegetable? Sweet potatoes, I guess.
Oh, yes. I'm a fan.
Because you can have them as fries. They make
Right?
good fries.
Yes.
Yeah.
They can be kind of anything. Yes. Sweet, savory, whatever you need
Yes.
them to be. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert. Yes, they can be anything. Your favorite car you've owned?
The favorite car I've owned. Well, I think I have my dream car that I haven't had yet. Can I say that instead?
Yeah.
I really want to have a Mini Cooper, like a red one.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
love it.
that's my bucket list someday.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
thought it was going to be like, I want my Lamborghini. No, Mini Cooper.
No, yeah. I want to bebop
Okay.
around. Yeah.
All right. Let's put that out there for people
Okay.
to, we'll
Yeah.
get that for you. Your favorite sound?
Sound of rain.
Okay. Final question. Your favorite fabric?
Oh, cashmere
Mm.
when I can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just
Driving around in your Mini
just-
Cooper,
Yeah.
in a cashmere
Exactly,
sweater
right?
in the
Ooh,
rain.
love it. Okay.
Perfect day. Yes. Thank you for playing that little game with us.
Yeah, I didn't know what
Everybody in our
7
studio-
meant, but now I get it. I had to answer a lot of questions.
You had to, yes. It's a lot of stress. And because you did that, everybody in the studio audience is getting a copy of The Perfectionist Dilemma. Those are all the people excited to read your book after this. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. This was really fun. Yeah.
Any time. You're the best.
Okay. Thanks for having me. And good luck with South Carolina and what's going on down there.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll keep you updated.
Okay, good.
That's our show, everybody. Thanks for watching. Go make your day richer. Go make somebody else's day richer. You've made mine by tuning in today, and I love you for it. On tomorrow's show, we have Dr. Mark Hicks and his book, Learning Love. And we've got Desiree Taylor and her new book, Created to Relate, Living Beyond Religion. It's a big day tomorrow, so make sure you join us, would you? Have a great day, everyone. See you later. Bye-bye.